Even with a regular band, there's a lot of that. There's going away and working on your riff, or it's, you don't all suddenly start playing as a band and you've written something. there is a lot of alone time, I think, in any musical sort of group, because you need to reflect and you need to practice and experiment, and those are only things you can really do by yourself at a certain point. With improvisation, obviously there isn't much of a pre-thought or a pre-imagination, you're just kind of playing it. But definitely when you're sort of lying awake at night sometimes, or in the morning, that you do have full-blown harmonic stuff going on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, I mean, you can kind of hear those things. It's actually quite difficult manifesting them in the real world, because often sort of bringing out one, maybe you can often imagine quite complicated, almost, full orchestral pieces, but once you focus on one line and bring that out into the real world, it's quite difficult to retain everything else around it. So I think there's, inspiration comes from that, but accurately capturing it is quite difficult for me anyway.
Yeah, that's still the sort of learning thing, I think, is to do that with sound design and to do it with composition. It's to be able to imagine something and do it, and that's the kind of hard thing. Also, I think you have to be a reasonable piano player or keyboard player if you're working with a computer, in order to accurately play back what you're hearing in your head.
You can hear a lot of music is basically using those presets and settings. I think it's really just exploring the synth in the same way as you would have with an analog synth. It's slightly less comfortable without the dials and sliders. The accidents don't happen as easily. You don't happen across original sounds as easily. Sort of late 80s, early 90s, there was a real surge in the kind of music that we're into. It suddenly became affordable for kids to buy a few bits of kit and put together fairly competent sounding music. And I think that was a really big moment. And so another decade later, I mean, I guess, through, mid 90s, late 90s, when computers were becoming faster, that was a big moment. There's been some amazing progress in terms of production, in terms of sort of musical style. I don't think there's been anything as big as what happened in the 90s, personally, because I think it was this moment when, it just became possible to do it.
The people that have been making music the same amount of time as us, people like Carl Craig, who's been around slightly longer, but some of the other Warp artists, they're all inspiring in their own way.
We really enjoyed that work, and we're hoping that there's more. We've been working a little bit, writing a few things for some games, and so I think a little bit of more of that work we'd like to find some, basically, and there's a few possibilities, but nothing we can reveal.
We signed to them in
91, yeah,
and they'd released a few bits and pieces, a few albums before that, and they started from really a shop in Sheffield, and it was Steve Beckett and Rob Mitchell who were the initial founders. So we're kind of part of the furniture there, but it's there's sort of mutual respect.
We've been playing Village Underground a few times recently, and that's a really nice space. The sound wasn't so good for a while. It's a very big high ceiling, but they've fixed that now, and that's good. Another friend of mine books the the old Camden Palais, which is now called Coco, and so that's always fun there because he's a good mate, and it's a big old theatre style. So I'd say probably those two. We got a show coming up at the Roundhouse soon, which would be cool. They've a few years ago they've refitted that. It's a really lovely venue now. A bit too big for us normally, but we're playing as part of a festival. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, that was quite fun. I think a few people said it was a bit too short, over an hour. We tried to get back to most of the questions. But we're always open on, people can write to us via the Facebook page and stuff as well. And we would do it again. And I think we got a pretty easy ride this time because it can get quite aggressive on Reddit. But our fan base tend to be quite nice people, so they're all kind of quite friendly. I'm a kind of keen cook, and I like eating, and I like a glass of beer occasionally or some wine. And you look at those kind of industries now, and all these little, or coffee or whatever. You've got a lot more kind of little indie places opening up now, and I'm seeing it all through Europe, over here as well. You've just got these little like the food truck thing, and it's like this sort of. I don't know, they just feel as, the kind of corporate thing is, I think people are really getting sick of it, and I do see some positive change coming, in that respect. It's the whole Western world, really. I mean, it's just with these shows like Big Brother, which I believe we inflicted on you. It's a ridiculous thing, really. I mean. Fame in and of itself isn't bad, but you've got to be saying something or doing something. There's got to be some substance, surely.